It's the 16th of April 2009. We're down here with a lot of staff from MCK down at Jamboree Golf Course here to interview Kenny Boothroyd. And we'll just start with Kenny. But tell us what you were doing before you started teaching at Marist Kogarah.
Oh, well, I came here as a migrant in 1966 and well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I was going to stay. I was very homesick. But I decided to go into the building trade, and I saw this job advertised in the paper for a physical education instructor. The gym had just opened. And I applied for the job with Brother Baptist. And he pointed me in the right direction and said they needed somebody with ex-army experience of discipline, and the job was mine. And I was there for nearly 30 years, and I must say that Brother Baptist was one of the greatest persons I've ever met in my life. He seemed to point me in the right direction, and it certainly made my family very welcome. Yeah.
And tell us about, so when you started at Kogarah, about your days at Kogarah and what you got up to, and combined with your rugby league training with St George. A few of those stories.
Yeah, well, one of the big stories, and I can't repeat the language here, but they sprayed on my, if you can call it an office, they sprayed on my office door that Boothroyd is a pommy so-and-so. And so I reported this to the deputy principal, and he said, "You got the idea who could have done it?" I said, "Yeah, I've got it down to two people. The boy in year 9 and my wife." But yeah, I enjoyed every minute of every day training boys, and I had a great guy at the back of me called Brother Baptist who backed me up on anything I wanted to do. And in those days, we tried to get ahead in athletics, which was the priority for Brother Baptist because he was an athlete himself. In fact, I got him to join Southern Athletic Club and compete in C-grade athletics, and from there on we went from strength to strength in athletics, and I think it rubbed off into the football as far as fitness went with speed. Yeah, so...
And I don't think we can go past this interview without you mentioning the slipper in the gymnasium, which many of your ex-students would have fond memories.
Well, I see a lot of ex-students that come round to Kiama on the south coast, and they wind the window down as they pass me and shout, "Have you still got the slipper, Ken?" And I meet these guys nearly every week, and that's the main conversation. It's like Graham Langlands with the white boots. And, but they knew they deserved it, and it seemed to be a competition who got the most slippers. So.
And what about, do any athletes or football teams that you coach stand out in your days at Kogarah? Any special athletes or footballers?
Not you, Burnsy. All athletes were equal for me. I mean, it was a great job being at Marist Brothers and just walking down the road or driving down the road to the great St George Jubilee Oval. And the players were very good because any time I needed to raise money for some sort of charity, the St George players always backed me up by playing against the teachers at indoor soccer, and then we put on a basketball game, St George versus the rest of the world, and we made a lot of money on that, and that went to a charity. So St George and Marist College, you know, they're just melted together, as you could say.
And they say that Billy McWilliams got you to do a bit of training with Greg Norman up at the school gym. Yeah,
well, Billy was St George's #1 supporter, and he asked me would he was a sticker for fitness, and he believed that all golfers should be very fit, because, you know, when you're playing 18 holes a day and you're travelling by plane across the rest of the world, and he was regarded as most probably the best golf coach in the Southern Hemisphere. So I trained a lot of his golfers. They used to come to the gym at lunchtime, and if I got permission of Graham Langlands, they used to train with the St George players. And we had this big blonde-haired guy came one day, and His name was Greg Norman, and he was football crazy. He was more interested in Billy Smith and Graham Langland and Johnny Raper than he was about golf. But he came down and trained at lunchtime, nearly every lunchtime at Kogarah, and then trained with the St George footballers at night time. And I remember Billy McWilliams let him go to a assistant professionals golf tournament at Port Kembla. And he came back to Billy and said, I've just won $1,500, and he had the cheque. And he said, do you think I should have this framed? And Billy said, no, I think you might earn a little bit more than that in the future. So we all know what Greg Norman's worth today.
Moved on. And since your days at Kogarah, what have you been doing in your retirement besides playing golf down here at picturesque Jamboree? And you training anyone these days?
Yeah, I've got a squad of about 30 at the moment, and they range from tennis players to beach sprinters to netball, basketball, rugby league, rugby union, AFL. And quite a few of them have made representatives. I've got one boy now. Hawthorne's just signed at 16 years of age. And 6 Melbourne clubs were after him, and I've got another boy who's just signed for the Broncos, and 2 other boys who have signed for Canterbury, and got them in the Matthew Scott squad on the FG ball. And I get quite a thrill out of this because I still feel as though I'm, you know, back at Kogarah teaching. So all the skills I learn at Kogarah rub off onto the athletes.
Well, I'm sure some of the ex-teachers here would just like to get in this shot, and you taught some of us, and we're teaching with you. So to wrap this up, we'll all jump in here and
come on, boys,
and wish Kenny the best.
The wide lens. Got the extra wide lens.
Extra wide.
He's on the third. Every other interview they've come to the school. This is the only time we've bought the school.
I was sorry about that.
Oh, don't be sorry.
If I stand here, you got a shot through their skull.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, what can we say? Well, thanks again, Kenny, for that. Yeah, it's really been. You'll be a star. You'll be a #1 star.
So just go on.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of the old guys have mentioned you.
Yeah. A lot of the interviews they mentioned you.
We're really old guys.
That bastard. No, that.
We're still filming.
We are. Okay, thanks, Ken.
Okay, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Where you dance next time, all right?
Why don't you hang around and play with them?